Hi everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel RatherBeReading, and today I'm bringing to you the spring cleaning book tag. The spring cleaning book tag was originally created by Book Syrup. I will leave a link to that original video in the description box down below for you guys to check out. I was actually tagged in this video by the wonderful, fabulous Kath Elizabeth Reads. I was tagged by her back in April when it was spring in the Northern Hemisphere. And it is now spring in the Southern Hemisphere. I didn't intentionally plan to leave this until it was actually spring here, but somehow it's just taken me this long to get to this tag, so I don't know what really happened with that, but I will also, of course, leave a link to Kath's channel in the description box as well for you guys to check out. Make sure you do check her out because she is wonderful. So let's jump straight in. This, I'm sure you can gather from the description of the tag, is a tag with questions surrounding spring cleaning. So let's jump in. Question number 1, The Struggle to Begin. A book or book series that you have struggled to start because of its size. So for this one, I have gone with The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandra Dumas. This book is humongous. It is almost 1,450 pages, over 1,400 pages. This is easily the biggest book that I own. I have wanted to read this for a long time. It's because of its size, but also because it's a classic, and classics in and of themselves can be pretty daunting. I had planned to get to this year. It's one of the books that I need to read from one of my Around the Year in 52 book challenges. So I do still plan to get to this year. I'm hopeful that I can, but I'm definitely intimidated by this because this is such a beast. I don't actually even really know what this is about. I think it's got something to do with someone in prison and maybe a prison escape. I don't really know. This is a classic that I quite often hear mentioned as like people's favorite classic. So I'm excited to get to it. I think I'm going to enjoy it, but my God, this book is big. Question number 2, Cleaning Out the Closet. A book or book series that you want to unhaul. For this one, I've gone with a series. It's the Pretty Little Liars series by Sarah Shepard. I own the entire series. It's over on a bookshelf over here. It takes up an entire shelf. It is 16 books. Is it 16? I'm not even sure. There's a lot of books, plus I do own the spin-offs. I own the entire series, including a like prequel kind of book that there is. I own everything. I did enjoy the series, but it's something that it's let's be fair, it's fairly juvenile for me. It's not something that I ever plan to reread. It's definitely a series that went on way longer than was necessary. And like I said, I just don't think I'm ever going to reread it. So when I eventually get around to it, I do plan to eventually unhaul this series. Question number 3, Opening Windows and Letting in Fresh Air. A book that was refreshing. For this one, I struggled a little bit to kind of think about what I considered to be a refreshing book. And for me, I guess I've decided to go with a book that's just very light and easy and just almost like a palate cleanser that you could, if you're reading more heavier books, you could read in between, and it just really kind of refresh everything, if you get what I'm saying. So for that, I have gone with the To All the Boys I've Loved Before trilogy by Jenny Han. So we have book 1, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, book 2, P.S. I Still Love You, and book 3, Always and Forever, Lara Jean. I really enjoyed this series. It's obviously been pretty prevalent recently because the movie recently came out for To All the Boys I've Loved Before, which I also adored. So I just think these are so fun and easy. If you don't know, this is a YA contemporary series that follows a main character named Lara Jean, who, when she has a really big crush on a boy, to kind of, once she's moving past it, to kind of move on from those feelings, she writes a letter to the boy all about her feelings. However, she doesn't send them out. She leaves them in a box in her room, and then one day all of the letters for like her 5 or 6 crushes that she's had get sent out, and shenanigans ensue. This is just so easy, light, so enjoyable, so cute, so fluffy. I'm not normally into cute and fluffy reads, but this one I was very into. I definitely recommend. It's definitely a refreshing series. Question number 4, Washing Out Sheet Stains. A scene in a book that you wish you could rewrite. I thought about this one again for a while. I wasn't really sure on what I was going to go with. And in the end, I've just decided to go with Allegiant by Veronica Roth. I don't actually have my copy, so there'll be a picture here because my trilogy, I think my brother's got it, that he was going to read it. Let's be real. I would rewrite pretty much the whole book of Allegiant, but particularly at least the end half. Definitely the ending, if you guys know what I mean. If you've read it, wasn't good, you guys. It wasn't good. I actually have a very ranty, spoilery review that I wrote on Goodreads back when I read this book. I'll leave a link to that down below for you guys to check out if you're interested. But yeah, this book could definitely do with some rewrites, in my opinion. Question number 5, throwing out unnecessary knickknacks. A book in a series that you didn't think was necessary. Again, I really struggled to think. I know that there are books that I've read and thought this is completely unnecessary, but I just couldn't think of what any of them were. So in the end, I've decided to go with After Dead by Charlene Harris. This is like I don't even really know how to describe this. So this is not technically part of the actual series. It was published afterwards and is just a alphabetically ordered list of all of the characters in that series with a little blurb about what happened to them after the series. Some of them are really, really short. Like, look at this one, for example. Can you guys see that with the light? That's literally a sentence. And then some of them are a little bit longer. This was so unnecessary. Not gonna lie, it felt kind of like a money grab because people like me who owned the entire series, had read the entire series, were invested in it. We were gonna spend money on it and end up buying it. But this was so unnecessary. Most of the characters in here, I didn't even remember who they were. And then the big characters who you did really care about kind of what happened to them, some of those had hardly anything written about them, and a lot of it was really unsatisfying. I just thought this was so unnecessary. I was kind of mad when I read it. I'm kind of mad thinking about it again. So yeah, this was definitely unnecessary. Question number 6, Polishing the Doorknobs, a book that had a clean finish. Again, really struggled to think of this one. I know that there are so many books that when I read them, I think this was way too like tied up in like a nice, neat little bow. Could I remember what any of those books were? No. So I've decided to go with what's probably a very cliche answer, and that is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling. I don't think that anyone can really deny that everything in this series is very wrapped up. I mean, we have the epilogue, for example, which arguably was not necessary. I loved the epilogue at the time that I first read this series because I was so invested in all of these characters that I wanted to know every single detail about their lives for the rest of their lives. As an adult and more critical reader, I can kind of see that, did we need to have that? Maybe not. Maybe a little bit more of it should have been left to our imaginations. But I don't think that, like I said, anyone can deny that this has a very clean cut. Everything is really well resolved. We have, like, this is prior to the epilogue even. Everything is really well resolved. I think we had a very clear picture of where this world and everything was headed. And I just thought it was a very clean and well done book, obviously, because I freaking love Harry Potter. So this is my answer, even if it's cliche. Question number 7, Reaching to Dust the Fan, a book that tried way too hard to relay a certain message. For this one, there's probably a bunch that I could have gone with, but my very first thought when I read this question was the If I Run trilogy by Terry Blackstock. This is a thriller trilogy, basically about a woman who, her best friend is murdered and she knows that she's about to be accused of the crime, so she goes on the run, and then there is a man who was the murdered person's childhood friend who is tasked by his family to track her down and bring her to justice. That's basically the plot of the trilogy, and Terry Blackstock is a Christian writer. It does have Christian themes to it. I have no problem with that, but as the series went on, the Christian messages and themes in there to me were way over the top for the type of story that Terry Blackstock was apparently trying to write. This is supposed to be a thriller. And in the last book in particular, we had so many scenes or just different parts in there about scripture, and I understand that maybe for some Christian readers, and I understand 100% I'm not the target audience. I totally understand that. And I have no problem with, I've read a couple of Christian themed books that I've really, really enjoyed. But just for me in this one, it felt very out of place in the type of story that this is. You're trying to write a really intense, thriller with all these like twists and turns and a lot going on. And then you have these really slow moments where you're just talking about scripture. And I thought that there were ways that the author could have put in the Christian themes and kept it Christian themed without it being so over the top and really, really, really hitting you over the head with it all in there. For me, it just really, really didn't work, and it really took me out of the story a lot. So for me personally, as a non-Christian, I didn't think that this was well done, but maybe for some Christian readers, they really enjoyed seeing that in there. Like I said, I'm not the target audience, 100% recommend that, but for me, I just thought this message was way too heavy-handed. Question number 8, the tiring yet satisfying finish to spring cleaning. A book series that was tiring yet satisfying to finish. For this one, there's a lot I could have gone with. I mean, for example, I could have gone with the Pretty Little Liars series that I mentioned earlier, a lot of books in that. I could have gone with the Sookie Stackhouse series that I also mentioned earlier, a lot of books in that. I decided to go with A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. This, while not necessarily the longest series, with it currently only being 5 books, these books, as I'm sure you all know, are very chunky. They're also the only high fantasy I think that I've ever read, like adult high fantasy. So it was my first time really delving into that. These books can be pretty dense at times. So for me, reading and getting through this series definitely felt very satisfying. I felt very accomplished when I finished them. Like, I did it. I read A Song of Ice and Fire, like the series. I still feel kind of proud about it. If Winds of Winter ever comes out, I definitely would have to reread these because I remember the main big plot points, but there's so much going on in these that I do not remember. I would definitely have to do a reread. Like, do I have the time to do a reread if that book ever comes out? Who the heck knows? But it was definitely tiring and a lot to get through. These books are dense, as I mentioned, but it definitely felt satisfying to finish them. Question number 9 is looking forward to next spring. Tag 4 people you want to see do this tag. Now, I'm actually not going to tag anyone, partly because this tag is quite old now, and partly because I was tagged so long ago and it took me forever to do it, partly because it's not spring anywhere in the Northern Hemisphere, obviously. So if you really want to do this tag, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, or you just really enjoyed these questions, feel free. I would love to see you guys do it, but I'm not going to tag anyone in particular. That was the spring cleaning tag. I would love to chat with you guys in the comments down below if you've got any thoughts about any of my answers or any of the books that I mentioned. I would love to know. What is a book that you guys would rewrite a scene in? Like, don't spoil me on anything, but like, maybe if I've read it, we can chat about it and we could have some similar thoughts maybe. I would love to chat about that down below. Yeah, please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. That is all I have for this video today. Bye, guys.